First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And I have an article here, all right, dealing with some current events. This was published February 6th, which is today. And as you can see, it says world heading into wider war. And this is by the UN chief. And before we continue to go in here, on the right side, you'll see it says Turkey earthquake death toll rises, right? Because if you haven't heard by now, there was that massive earthquake over there in Turkey. Okay, but pretty much this is a part of the prophecies. Okay, the signs of the times that Yahweh Shai prophesied. Okay, that the Lord Yahweh Shai had told us. Matthew the 24th chapter, right around the 6th, 7th verse, it talks about how we would hear of wars and rumors of wars. Okay, and that there would be earthquakes and pestilences and famines in diverse places, meaning in different parts of the world. Okay, and that's what we're seeing going on. And somebody might say, well, earthquakes happen regularly. Famines are not a new concept. Pestilence, that's been around since history, but it's about the timing of it. Okay, it's about the timing of it, how it is coinciding with other events. Okay, at the same time. So it says here, nations need to wake up if they hope to preserve peace. Antonio Guterres has said. The world has come close to a global conflict. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned on Monday. Right, the world has come close to a global conflict, which is what another way of saying a world war. That when he says a wider war, we're dealing with, okay, if there's a war with Russia and Ukraine right now, tensions are building up. You have pretty much the U.S. and China nearing that brink. Israel and Iran, which are also nearing that brink. That a wider war means that it would include more countries. It wouldn't just be isolated to just one country versus another. That's why you have the whole. That's why, or that's a part of the reasons countries form alliances, so that in a case like this, it's not just one country going to war, but their allies join in. So it says here, the global community is not sleepwalking into a wider war, but marching towards it, with its eyes wide open. He stressed in a speech to the General Assembly. The prospects for peace keep the prospects for peace keep diminishing. The chances of further escalation and bloodshed keep growing. And why is that? Pursuant to the Ecclesiastes, the third chapter, there is a time to everything, there is a time and there is a season. And right now, and as it talks about how there's a time of war, that's the time we're in right now. We're in a time of war. We're not in a time of peace. That's why they are marching with their eyes wide open towards a wider war. So it says, the chances of further escalation and bloodshed keep growing, denouncing the lack of strategic vision and bias that prevent political decision makers from taking steps in the right direction. This near-term thinking is not only deeply irresponsible, it is immoral, he argued, adding that politicians and entrepreneurs became too absorbed with clinging to power and their business cycles. The Secretary General also blasted the erosion of international law and order based on UN principles, which, according to him, led to the present sorry state of affairs. Um, if every country fulfilled its obligations under the UN Charter, the right to peace would be guaranteed, he noted, calling on UN members to transform our approach to peace by recommitting to the Charter, putting human rights and dignity first, with prevention at the heart. But unfortunately for him, okay, that's not the case. That is not the way things are going to go down. In fact, things are going to go, things are going to escalate and get worse and worse and worse until a full blown war breaks out. And why is that? Because that is how the Lord has set it up. Okay, that is how the Creator has ordered the prophecies. Now, this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 1. And it says, "The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will." And the king's heart, when you go into the Hebrew word there for heart, right, it's lab. The Hebrew word is lab. So we know that obviously this was originally written in Hebrew. So the Hebrew word there is lab, which it doesn't mean your organ, but it means your mind. So when it says the king's heart, is referring onto the mind or the thoughts of the king, which is the rulers of this world. All right, a king is a ruler of people, and in today's day and age, you have presidents and prime ministers and so on and so forth, right? So as it says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, meaning the hand, meaning the control. All right, it's under the power of the Lord. As rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So the Lord is in control of the thoughts of these different rulers. And that's why they're shifting further and further away from peace and closer to an actual war, closer and closer to conflict. Hold up. Not too long ago, Biden said he wasn't going to send troops into Ukraine because that would start World War III. And yet he is joining in these other nations in doing the same or taking actions that will lead to the same outcome that he was so-called trying to prevent. So why are they all doing this? Is because the Lord is controlling their actions, their thoughts, their ideas. Why? So that they can end up fulfilling prophecy, which is World War III. That is a part of biblical prophecy. So it says, we need to wake up and get to work, Guterres said, adding that 2023 has placed humanity in front of a confluence of challenges unlike any in our lifetimes. And I'm glad he said that. All right, because quote unquote humanity is getting ready to face the time of Jacob's trouble, which is indeed, without a shadow of a doubt, going to be a time unlike any other, as prophesied in Jeremiah 30 and 7 and Daniel 12 and 1 and other scriptures. All right. Now, real quick, this is the book of Zephaniah, because the prophets of old, in all their different writings, a lot of them received visions of this very same thing that this individual is trying to warn people of, all right, to steer clear of, which is that war, that wider quote unquote war. But the prophets saw visions of it. And they didn't write down predictions, they wrote down what they saw. That's why a lot of them, first off, if the visions that the prophets wrote were their predictions, why would they say that they didn't understand it? I predict that in the future, it is going to be flying cars, but I don't really understand that. I don't know what that actually means. So how can you predict something like that then? Right? Because they didn't understand it, because they were seeing something that was thousands of years ahead of their time, and they were writing it down. So the Lord showed them the future of the timeline that we're all in, meaning that whatever they wrote is not something that is by chance. It's something that is going to happen. It's inevitable. It's just a matter of time. That's what the future is. Eventually the future becomes the present, right? And then it becomes the past. Just like eventually prophecies get fulfilled and then they become history. So this is the book of Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 8. It says, "Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord Yahweh, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations." So the Most High is going to rise up to the prey, which are the enemies, all right, of his people. And he's going to rise up to the prey, meaning that he is going to set all this up. And as it goes on to read, it says, "For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy." All right, and where's the Lord going to gather these nations? in the valley of judgment, all right, or the valley of Jehoshaphat, which translates to, or which in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shaphat, which translates to the Lord's judgment, the place of the Lord's judgment, which is over there in the Middle East. And that's where he's going to gather these nations. They're going to be drawn in like a vortex. Okay. And when those nuclear missiles fly, it's going to be complete annihilation, all right, of certain areas. But as it says, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. Now, it's not referring to the whole entire planet. Okay. But it is referring on to certain parts of the earth. Places like America, according to the scriptures, is going to be made a desert. Gone. Israel, the land of Israel, gone. Okay? And I say gone, I don't mean that it's just not going to exist anymore. I mean it's going to be pummeled and pulverized with nuclear missiles, according to the biblical prophecy. So let me finish up this article real quick. So it says here, the UN chief also pointed to the fact that scientists have moved the symbolic doomsday clock, which reflects the potential annihilation of humanity, to 90 seconds to midnight, the closest it has ever been to a possible Armageddon. The UN chief's word came after the US and its allies vowed to send dozens of Western-designed modern battle tanks to Ukraine amid the ongoing conflict between Moscow and Kiev. The Pentagon also announced supplying the Ukrainian forces with munitions that have a 150-kilometer range, adding that it would allow Kiev to use them as it sees fit. Yeah, okay. Moscow has previously repeatedly warned that continued weapons supplies to Ukraine by the U.S. and its allies risk further escalation that might spiral into a direct conflict between Russia and NATO. And if there's a direct conflict between Russia and NATO, you best believe it's not going to be with just Russia and NATO. It's going to be Russia and its allies, okay, and NATO and her allies. So why is it that 2023, here we are in 2023, and we're now the talks of a world war are more intense and more heated than ever, more real than ever, and there was a trend leading up to this point. What's going on? Is this all just by coincidence? No, it's not. This is biblical prophecy, and that is where we're headed. Our job is to come and give you the warning that this is what's coming. Now, if you say you don't believe it, I mean that's not. It's not. We're not getting paid to come and make you believe it. We're here to just give you the message. Hi, bye. That's it. All right. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 1. And these are a few precepts that deal with these the prophecies, mainly dealing with the gathering of these countries and into that location. All right, in the Middle East, but also this world war. So this is Joel 3 and 1. It says, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem," right? Meaning that the Lord, it's just an old English for the Lord is going to take us out of captivity. Okay, he's gonna finally, take away the slowly lift off the curses that are upon us and free us from our captives or our captors. So at that time, which is really what? The time of the end, because right now we're still captive. But at the time when the Lord looses these bands off of us and starts to bring that great judgment upon this place, that's going to be around the same time when he's going to be bringing again the captivity. It says, "I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat," which translates to Yahweh Shaphat, the Lord's judgment. And that's there in the Middle East. Okay, it says, "and will plead with them there." Plead does not mean, it says plead, but it's not talking about how you would typically think of the word plead, right? You beg or, you try to, beseech somebody. The word plead here means judge, okay? Judge, not that the Lord is going, "Oh, let me negotiate with you nations." No, he's going to gather them there to judge them. So it says, and will plead with them there for my people. Who are the Lord's people? The Israelites. And right now, he's really only concerned about the elect of the nation of Israel. It says, and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. So the Lord is going to gather them, and he's going to bring judgment upon them as what? As a recompense. And how do we know what kind of war this is going to be? Well, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 9, verse 5. And these are precepts that, they're not new precepts, but you always have newer individuals that are listening. So it's always good to go into these different precepts. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 9, verse 5. It says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. And that was the way that you would go to war in the ancient world, or even conventionally. You would have confused noise. So if you say like the ancient world, for example, on the battlefield, you had war elephants, you had war machines, you had arrows, archers, horsemen, horses, flags, trumpets, drums. You had all of these things, right? And that was confused noise because you would hear people charge. You would hear the sound of arrows being shot, the sound of elephants and horses running, and a whole bunch of sounds all at once. So it wasn't the easiest thing to make out what was being said, or the sounds that were taking place. That's why it says confused noise. And garments rolled in blood. Why? Because in war, you have people that get stabbed up, you get shot, you get cut, so on and so forth, and then they die. Okay, and then you see the blood, their clothes are torn up, they're dirtied up, mingled with blood and all of that. If you go and look at the aftermath of a battlefield, I wonder if they might show something here. Aftermath of battlefield. Let's see if we can take a. Okay, this is a. There you go. So garments rolled in blood. All right, let's take a look at that. You see that? That's a garment. That's their clothes, and you can see the blood mixed up in there. Right here, you can see some. Well, that might be his uniform, but for some of them, you see blood because they get stabbed. They get hit with an arrow. This guy, look at this. This guy. All right, you got some garments rolled in blood. That's just an example of how wars were fought in the ancient world. Okay, now when you as it goes on to read, it says, but this, meaning what? This war shall be with burning and fuel of fire. And Isaiah was referring on to what? This Third World War. Because this Third World War, this wider war, is going to be with burning and fuel of fire because it's going to be involving nuclear missiles. So there's going to be a whole lot of fire. One missile hits from one place to another, Russia to the U.S., Iran to Israel, Iran to the, it's going to be destruction in a lot of places. But it's all prophecy. Okay, it's all prophecy. It was seen. And there's no way around it. The thing to understand is this will not be stopped. You cannot stop because the Most High has already ordained this. It's going to happen. The best thing you can do is repent and hope for mercy. Because not everybody's going to get destroyed in this thing. But you want to hope that the Lord has mercy on you so that when it comes to pass, you will get delivered. Okay, that is the hope. Now, I'm going to finish it off here. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 7, verse 5. It says, thus saith the Lord God, an evil, and only evil, behold, is come. The end is come. The end of what? The end of this age. And this age is going to go out with fire. The end is come. The end is come. It watcheth for thee. Behold, it is come. So what does that mean? We're at the end. You're at the end. And it's only a matter of time before they push out this MOTB, this charagma, this C-hip, because that's what it is. And once they do that, everything, like the Apostle R says, everything is going to move lightning quick. Okay? It's going to move lightning quick, and these prophecies are going to come to pass. And before you know it, well, you're going to be living the things that we've been prophesying about. So anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.